Community Call of May 11th. This meeting is being recorded. If you don't want to be recorded, please drop off now. And otherwise, please add your name and affiliation to the attendees list just so we know who's been joining the calls. That will pause here for a chance stumbling over my words today a bit. If there's anything you want to add to the agenda, feel free to speak up now. We can either tackle it right off the bat or we can add it into the any other business section.
Hey, so test team has decided to give in a series of 19 talks about real-world examples of how to, use the current test tools, grinders, TSS, those sort of things, help people to debug or share some best practice or tips and tricks. So we're preparing a series of talks. We're thinking like just really short ones every week, maybe just like 5 minutes each, just to get people started. And like example would be if I get assigned an issue, where I should start, what kind of information we're looking for, and how I reproduce this in a grinder type of thing.
That sounds really cool. Is that something you would want to start next week?
Yeah, we're thinking to start next week. If you have time in this meeting.
I think that's a great thing to be doing and a great thing to be kicking these meetings off with. So
cool. Yeah, and then the plan is just to keep those talks really, really short, to the point. And of course, if you guys have more questions, you can ask on the Slack channel, or if you want to suggest any topics, we also are welcome to just give us feedbacks and stuff like that. Yeah, we're gonna start next week then.
Awesome. Thanks, Lan.
No problem.
Great. So if there are other topics to discuss, feel free to either speak up as we get to the appropriate points or to add it into any other business section, and we'll tackle those at the end as well. I'll open up the user raised issues section now, and we'll see. I don't see anything that's come in the last week or so, so I think we're pretty good there, unless there's something on this list that somebody feels needs some discussion. All right, then I'll close that and we'll jump back to our regular agenda, and we'll take a look at the download trends from Adopt. That to the OpenJ9 builds. See an uptick again. The usual curve to this graph showing that downloads pick up the beginning of the week. Not surprising. See about 10,000 of our downloads are JDK8. 20K of them are JDK11. And then a smaller amount of 16, which is pretty typical. So I think there's anything surprising in the download trends that we're looking at here. Is there anything anybody else would like to look at? Okay, then we'll jump back to the agenda. And the first thing there is a bit of a retrospective on our last release. Just think it would be a good idea to call out some of the things that we think went really well with this release, some of the things that didn't go well, and any actions we need to take on the upcoming release. Does anybody want to kick us off? From my perspective, I was less hands-on. It's not particularly hands-on with this release, but it seemed to be flowing fairly smoothly. Does anybody have Agree with that characteristic or anything else that they think needs to be changed?
So the handover that we were obliged to do with regard to the extensions repository and getting all that up to date, that seems to be going really well. If anything, the time zones that we now find everybody in might even be helping a bit there. So I think that went well. That fed into some things in Adopt that didn't quite go so well around the area of still around machines from providers that are not stable enough to run all of the tests, and that causes a bit of grief. Triaging all the tests and making sure that there's not actually anything crept into the JDK. But that was my observation. Overall, we did get the release published pretty quick, I think, certainly compared with other quarterlies we've done.
Simon? Peter, I'll pick on you as you're often heavily involved in getting those releases out the door. Is there anything in there that you want to call out?
No, nothing comes to mind. It all went pretty smoothly.
Great. Well, it's always good to hear. So if there's no other comments around the release, then I guess we'll move on. There is a comment here around considering running the extended testing at the OpenJ9 project. Was this addressed in a previous meeting, or is there something we need to cover today?
It's just something that I thought we should try to run in the open at the OpenJ9 project is the extended testing. I did try it, but it didn't seem to work very well. I've been meaning to try it again, but I haven't gotten back to it yet. I think the reason it didn't go very well is we were having network infra issues at the time when I tried to run it. I don't think not necessarily the tests themselves, but when we run them, we're probably going to find a bunch of machine issues, and then we'd be looking at how we could fix the machines so they could pass the tests.
So I've been focusing on trying to get this target clean at Adopt OpenJDK, which I'm getting there, but the perhaps not surprisingly, the platform still with the most failures from OpenJ9's point of view is AIX. So I suspect there are some things in there that are unique to OpenJ9 plus AIX. There's some quite possibly affect hotspot as well. So it would be good from we downstream people if that could be done further upstream, so that anything that can be caught earlier is.
All right. So Pete, I'll leave this in the agenda, and you can give us an update when you've had a chance to circle back to it.
Sounds good.
With the CMake performance testing, see there was an update that Marius had not been able to reproduce the issue. So Marius, is there further updates here?
So yes, I would say that there is no regression with respect to throughput. There is one more thing that I would like to follow up. So I have at home two machines. On one of the machines, I'm seeing a 1% startup regression. So I'm going to do startup experiments on the PMA machines. And if nothing shows up there, I will close the issue. Otherwise, maybe there is something to investigate because there is more machines where it shows.
All right, so it's
scripts and
sounds
machines.
like
You're right. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
So you're typing scripts. Scripts is fine as well. I'm going to use scripts and machines from the PMA infrastructure.
So it sounds like this was some fluctuations in the numbers, but not a.
Yeah, that's how I would call it. Yeah.
All right, then I'll leave this in until we've gotten that confirmation, and then hopefully we can close this out. Next one on this list is the 0.27 release. Just a reminder that we're coming up on that code split on June 6th. There is a lot of things open in that milestone plan. There's at 103 open items. Not a huge amount of time to get this closed out and cleaned up. So please do be taking some time to see which things you own in this plan, which things can be closed out, and or which things are we can already start to say are unlikely to make this release and move them forward. There's a question about whether AArch64 would still be early access for this release. I see Daryl's already answered that, indicated that we're targeting 17 for the production release. And I've moved the OpenJDK method handles adoption to this section of the plan, given we were targeting this release. So Babneet, do you have an update there?
Hey Dan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I think I was away last week. So as I know, there are 5 critical issues still pending, and people have been assigned to it. I think 2 of them are near completion, so we will be left with 3 critical failures. Once the PRs for the 2 are merged. And I feel that we should be able to hit the 7th June cutoff date for the 0.27 release. I haven't touched base with the JIT team yet, so I'm not aware what's the status of the JIT team with respect to OpenJDK method handles. I will provide an update if the JIT team can hit the same target of 7th June by next week.
Is there any early numbers from that work, Babneet?
We did run benchmarks before I went away. I think it was one of the OpenJ9 issues opened by a user. And we only got good numbers for the Xend. I think we do 2 times better in comparison to OpenJDK when OpenJ9 has OpenJDK method handles enabled. And at that time, the JIT optimizations were not merged. So with JIT enabled, we were still getting the numbers that we got with Xend. So I think for the JIT performance, I will get an update next week.
All right. Thanks, Babneet. Is there anything else on the release that we should cover today? And I'm going to see if there's a regular update from Adopt. I don't see Shelley on the call. Is someone else who wants to speak to that?
Just a heads up that we're working on renaming the repos. So OpenJDK test is renamed. So it's already renamed, but we're updating the script in the test pipeline. So OpenJDK test will change to Aqua test, and then OpenJDK system test will change to Aqua system test. Some of the changes may need to regenerate the test job itself.
So the Jenkins test job will need to be.
Depends on which ones. I don't think the system test report name change will affect anything, but the adopt test OpenJDK test repo change will need the test job to be regenerated. So we will actually coordinate with Adam. I don't think OpenJ9 I don't think OpenJ9 Jenkins will get affected because they always force regenerate everything. It's probably adopt pipeline, an internal pipeline needs to be closely monitored.
Okay.
I agree. We'll just have to do the test gen job and the grinder job at OpenJ9, as far as I know.
At OpenJ9, the test gen job is auto-triggered, right?
Right, but sorry, the job itself, the configuration of that job.
Oh, change the default?
Change it to the new repo name.
Yeah. Okay.
In the SCM setting.
Adam, is there any update on the infrastructure?
Yeah, so Artifactory disk looks good. I think Pete said last week we could up it, but I didn't get a chance to do that. No update on the ARG.
I checked
Sorry?
the date. I checked the date for the code split for Java 17, and it's June 10th. So I guess
Okay,
we should.
so we might as well wait then.
Is there anything else with the infrastructure, Adam?
Yeah, sorry.
No worries.
The Ubuntu 16 systems are end of life for the operating system, so we need to update those. So that'll be the next couple weeks, the coordinated outages of those, because we have to update the hosts as well, particularly for the ones at UNB. And then we also added 5 new Windows machines this past week, so that'll help with the Windows backlogs. Any questions?
Doesn't sound like it. Thanks, Adam. All right. Just checking if Devin's on for an update on CMake.
Yep. So I got those last test issues fixed up, and so now it's just pushing through. I think there's 2 commits on the OpenJ9 side and 3 on the OMR side that are going through, and then once those are merged, that should be it for ZOS. And so I've started looking at some of the cross-compile issues with CMake.
That's good to hear. Marius, I've changed this update a little bit to not just focus on the K8 Helm and operator discussions, but probably worth having a larger conversation around JIT server updates as well. So if you don't mind providing both, that would be appreciated.
Okay. So in terms of Helm chart, I have pushed the Helm chart for release 0.26. And going more broadly with respect to deployment, we are looking for, let's call them freelancer within IBM to see if somebody can pick up a proposal from us about operators with GServer. GServer, I created a plan. So the plan is to GA together with the Java 17. That means we are going to remove that message saying that this is a tech preview. I created a plan, and I just opened an issue, a checklist if you want, with all the things that need to be done in preparation for that. So that includes some performance aspects, even though the focus is not on performance right now. But we still want to address some of them. I wouldn't call them limitations. Let's say increase the capacity of GServer to handle more clients at the same time without hitting the memory issue, the memory limit. So that's performance. Functionally, we want to have, for instance, support for the new implementation of the method handle, and we already pushed a few PRs in that respect. And also in plan is to have storage or storing AOT methods at the server. So that's some work done in collaboration with University of Toronto. Of course, we want to fix most, if not all, of the existing test failures and improve documentation. And one of the things in the category documentation is writing a blog about performance of a JIT server in an OpenShift environment. I think we are on target right now, so I'm hoping that this can be done by Java 17 timeframe.
It's good to hear. I think the more we can start to float the message around this externally, I think the better. The more the community's aware and is trying to pick things up and play with them, the better off we'll be getting that feedback on that GA release.
Yep.
Thanks, Marius. See, the next MicroJIT meeting is on May 20th.
Yes.
If there's anything else we need to call out there.
No.
And the discussion around moving repos, I believe that is complete. Is there anything still outstanding there, Pete?
Not that I know of. Everything should be done.
Excellent. Just note that the Artifactory builds are now password protected. Just for people's awareness, we'll help provide access if needed. And I wondered if there were other projects that we should touch on regularly at these meetings. We talked about JIT server today. We've talked about some of the method handle work. Are there other major activities going on that we should be covering on a sort of a more regular basis? If there is one that you want added as a more general thing that you want to hear more about or that you're involved in and you'd like to be able to share more about, either add it into the agenda here or let me know and we'll get it slotted in.
Dan, I had a few suggestions.
Okay.
Project Loom will be one. And JEP 389 foreign linker API. I think Cheng is working on that.
Is that 389?
Yes, foreign linker API. And then there will be JEP 393, which will be foreign memory access API incubator 3. All these, I think all three, the last two are definitely targeted for JDK 17, and the first one is tentative.
Yeah, I could definitely add those in. I think that's a great idea to cover those more regularly. Are there any other suggestions? Are there any other business that we need to cover today? All right, then thank you everybody, and we'll call it for this week, and we'll meet again next week.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.